The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and X Zone TV. If you'd like to give us a call worldwide, toll free 1-800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My first guest tonight is Steve Bhaerman. He is an internationally known author, humorist, and workshop leader. For the past 22 years, he has written and performed as Swami Bhayananda. I think I said that right. The Cosmic Comic.
It's actually Bhayananda. It's an Italian name.
Oh, I see. All right. Go back to your spaghetti. I'll be back with you in a sec. In 1980, Steve co-founded Pathways Magazine in Ann Arbor, Michigan, one of the first publications bringing together holistic health, personal growth, spirituality, and politics. Joining me now is our very special guest this hour, Steve Bhaerman. And Steve, welcome to the X Zone. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure, Steve. Once again, how do you pronounce the name of your alter ego?
Bhayananda.
Beyond Ananda.
Ananda. All the Swamis have Ananda after their name, and I found out that Ananda means bliss. So you're beyond Ananda, you go to bliss, it's another 500 yards. You can't miss it.
Well, so that means you're beyond bliss.
Yeah, or the Swami is. I'm an ordinary person, but the Swami is a little bit more out of this world than I am.
Tell me about the Cosmic Comic before we start talking about a great book that has come out about 2012.
Well, actually, about 25 years, the name Swami Bhayananda flew into my head, and I tell people I got struck by enlightening during a brainstorm. And since that time, the Swami has been coming through, and he's been described as comedy disguised as wisdom and wisdom disguised as comedy. So it's really a way for me to use my humor and playfulness and so on. And, you know, there's certain things that you can say through humor that you can't really say directly. Humor is a wonderful way to deliver messages in a way that they come in under the radar.
That's right.
And in the Transforming Through 2012 multimedia ebook, the Swami can be heard talking about various aspects of 2012.
You know, it's just like when an author writes fiction, it's easier to get the point across in fiction than it is as a novel.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because you put people in the story. You know, a joke is very much like a hypnotic trance. When you start listening to a joke, you narrow your focus of attention and you'll believe almost anything. So if somebody says there were these two cannibals eating a clown, and one says, "Does this taste funny to you?" You'll go along with the idea that cannibals are eating clowns, just to get to the punchline.
All right. Steve, you and I have to take our first commercial break. Please stand by. Great having you with us. X Zone Nation, Steve Bhaerman is my special guest. Two important websites. Steve's personal website is wakeuplaughing.com. That's www.wakeuplaughing.com. And we're also going to be giving you another website. We're going to be talking about 2012 this hour in the X Zone. www.transform2012book.com. That's www.transform2012book.com. Steve Bhaerman and I will return on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break as the X Zone continues live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, X Zone Nation, starting November, we're with NNTV in Niagara Falls. It's going to be a great time for one and all. More about it at www.xzoneradiotv.com/nntv.htm.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
We all desire health, happiness, and fulfillment, but often get in our own way. Repeated patterns that leave us out of control can keep us feeling powerless, frustrated, and unable to move forward in spite of our best efforts. Unconscious patterning disconnects us from our gifts, often destroying the very thing we seek. But there is an answer. We can take charge of our destiny and heal the trauma of our history. Shamanism is an effective ancient modality that can reconnect us with our true selves, empower the creation of our dreams, and return us to health and balance. Cody Alexander is a certified shamanic practitioner and teacher with 11 years' experience. Email healingpathways33@gmail.com or visit codyalexander.net to schedule a long-distance shamanic session today.
Exonation, Steve Bhaerman is our special guest. Once again, here are a couple of websites. Steve's personal website is www.wakeuplaughing.com. And we're going to be talking about transforming through 2012, leading perspectives on the new global paradigm. That website is www.transform2012book.com. Steve, what is the attraction with the year 2012? Now, everybody hears about December the 21st, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar, the galactic alignment, the dawning of the new spiritual paradigm. So what is it?
Well, I think that there's been this growing feeling in many, many different circles that something is about to happen, or as the Swami might say, the shift is about to hit the fan. And on the evangelical Christian side, we hear people talking about a rapture. Scientists are talking about the sixth great extinction. There's tremendous earth changes happening right now, whether or not you're looking at all of these predictions that things are actually happening. The 2012 story, depending on, there was that movie, which maybe you saw. I didn't see it, but from what I heard about it, it was just basically, another disasteroid scenario
Yeah, it was a waste of my
designed to generate fear.
It was a waste of my hard-earned money.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be the case, so I didn't. I took my hard-earned money and didn't spend it on that. But this whole idea of using these changes to foment fear, because actually fear makes it easier to control people. People go into their hindbrain, they become less intelligent, their fight or flight mechanism is activated, and their creative intelligence kind of shrinks. So, I could see that these, this pending thing is being used by people. But I think the appeal of it is that there is a sense that there is a transformation that is in the process of taking place. And the serious book that I wrote with cellular biologist Bruce Lipton, perhaps your listeners know Bruce's work, he wrote a book called Biology of Belief, and our book is called Spontaneous Evolution, our positive future and a way to get there from here. And we're recognizing that we're on the cusp of this new evolutionary emergence where human beings recognize that we're all cells in the body of a new organism called humanity. And that's an obviously very transformational idea given how we've been programmed to believe, given how most people believe about our human beings, powerlessness, we're original sin, we're evil, we're kind of a gone species, and so on. So the 2012 is a portal into a new story. Now, these times, which people have called end times, apocalyptic times, when you look at the original meaning of the word apocalypse, it meant the lifting of the veils. So what we are seeing, we're seeing the veils lifted on all kinds of secrets right now. And some of those secrets are the awful truths about what the various aspects of the ruling elite, our governments and so on, have been perpetrating to us and on our behalf. But the other awesome truth, the other awesome opportunity in this lifting of the veils is the veils are being lifted from who we human beings really are. Behind the programming, behind the fear, behind millennia of rule by what we call the lowest common denominator. So there is a sense of expectation, and certain interpretations of the 2012 story offer a much more hopeful view of where we might be headed.
Who wants to dominate us, and for what reason?
Well, I think that for centuries and centuries, the world, or at least the so-called civilized world, has been ruled by a ruling class. And initially, it certainly made sense. These were the people who had achieved more. They had more wealth. They had more ability. And what happens is, as Lord Acton said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you get generation after generation after generation of these people who believe they have the ultimate entitlement to rule, and with each generation comes a degeneration. And at this point, if we look back maybe 50 years ago to the conviviality of the ruling class, the one party and the other, and now we see the bitter divides, we see the ruthlessness and brutality. It's simply that those are the forces that have come to the surface to be examined, to be looked at, to be healed.
What happens, all right, hypothetically, December the 22nd, 2012, everything's the same? That kind of reminds me of a very prophetic interview I heard with the sports commentator Howard Cosell and the great baseball player Willie Mays, and I'll channel it for you so you'll get the gist of it. We're talking with Willie Mays. Willie, let me ask you this: will the Giants win the pennant this year? And Willie Mays said, I don't know, Howard. That's we're going to play the season to find out.
So we have what we're coming to understand about the nature of reality, and this is through various experiments in quantum physics, et cetera, and so forth, is that reality is something that gets created by agreement. So if we as a collective decide that this 2012 is going to be a horrible, destructive scenario, it's very likely that that's what's going to play out, that we will feed that reality. We will put energy into the field for that reality, and we will go down that path. If instead we look at 2012 as an opportunity for us to release these old stories that no longer work, then we are likely to create that scenario as well. So the short form is that I don't believe it's written. I believe that we write it with our participation, one way or the other.
You know what? That sounds like kind of you're covering both bases. If there's a catastrophe, there's a "we told you so." If nothing happens, there's also a built-in "we told you so." Why doesn't anybody ever take a definitive stand?
Well, people take definitive stands all the time, and I think the National Enquirer still does this every year. Mm-hmm. They invite the best-known psychics of the world to make their predictions.
Yeah, so do we.
Okay, and guess what? What percentage of those predictions happen?
Less than 2%.
Right, because I believe that the purpose of prediction is prevention. In other words, if you put out a certain scenario and you lay that scenario out for everybody to look at, and it's a repugnant scenario, then people will go, we don't want to go there. And so that possibility becomes extinguished because everybody looked at it and went, nah.
Let me give you another hypothesis. If the Mayan calendar, the Mayan round calendar, wouldn't end on December the 21st, 2012, and there's a lot of discussion whether it actually did or it didn't within both the archaeological community and New Age spiritual community, would there be all this hype about December 21st, 2012, even though there's a galactic alignment?
I think, as the Swami would say, there definitely has been galactic acid buildup on the underside of our karma for many, many millennia. Mm-hmm. People have a feeling that something has to change without knowing what that is. People have a feeling something has to change because if we look around at our institutions in society, most institutions are not working. In other words, at the current level of organization of human so-called civilization, we've come up against the limits of the constructiveness that can happen at this level.
But how can
there is a strong sense that something has to give.
Well,
people
of course.
have attributed it to this date. Maybe that date's wrong. It reminds me of the old monk whose job it is to translate the ancient scrolls and documents, and he's down in the catacombs, and these other monks hear a scream, and they come running down, and the old monk is shaking, and he's saying, "It says celebrate, not celibate." So, interpretations sometimes make a difference.
We were talking about the world needs a change. I agree, but isn't it up to us as we the people, the collective, to realize that we have caused this problem and we have the power within us, and it has nothing to do with divine intervention or any other thing except the responsibility of making those changes ourselves in a real physical world?
Well, I agree with you, and I would add this caveat. In our book, Spontaneous Evolution, one of the people we quote is David Ray Griffin, and he is in addition to having written a book called The New Pearl Harbor about 9/11, David Ray Griffin is a very well-known, prominent theologian and one of the developers of something called process theology. At the end of World War II, after the Holocaust and so on, and people were just kind of shaken and saying, how could God, if there is a God, how could God allow such a thing to happen? And process theology was developed in part by Alfred North Whitehead, the philosopher. And the short form is that there is no divine intervention, that we bring the powers of love or the powers of evil through our own actions and the thoughts, feelings, beliefs in our human heart. So I believe that there is such a thing as the power of love, and we have the choice to activate this power or not. One of the conclusions that Bruce Lipton and I come to in Spontaneous Evolution, and we have a piece in Transforming Through 2012 as well, is that this is a human emergence where we actually come into, we cease to be children of God, we become adults of God. And in that
All right,
process...
stand by, Steve. I've got to take my news break. X-Zone Nation will be back on the other side of this news break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the four corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Exonation, Steve Bhaerman is our guest this hour. www.wakeuplaughing.com is Steve's personal website, and we're talking this hour about Transforming Through 2012, leading perspectives on the new global paradigm. That website is www.transform2012book.com. Over the years, we've been talking about 2012, and there are those who are hardcore believers, and there are those who are hardcore skeptics, and events like Y2K certainly don't help.
Well, I think that all of these things kind of gather our focus, and so much of what we focus our energy on is really story anyway. And it's the value of that story, what is happening, the sense that there is something happening, the sense that there needs to be something happening, and what it is. Some people are absolutely certain that this is going to happen on that particular day, and then others are equally certain that none of that's going to happen. The thing is that as we are learning, and once again, experiments in quantum physics, many experiments done by Dean Radin over at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, et cetera, indicate that reality can be influenced by our thoughts and beliefs. Not just because a lot of people believe something, they vote for somebody and he or she does this or that. Not even that. But in terms of expectation, that we do know that people can, on different days, some days more than others, people can change the odds that a coin is going to come up heads or tails based on their intention. So we're only now beginning to experiment with those kinds of things. And there have been a number of worldwide or even localized meditations. You probably heard about the experiments done in Washington, D.C. in the 1990s during the long hot summer. A threshold number of transcendental meditation practitioners came to Washington, D.C., and the crime rate went down precipitously during that particular period of time. When the meditators left, the crime rate went back up again. So we're just at the really very, very beginning stages of exploring and understanding these fields and how the fields create reality.
All right, if we're talking about the number of people that it would take to have a positive effect on something, would be a significant number if we're talking about changing a cosmic event. So let me ask you this question. What is the percentage of all the people on this planet who believe that there is going to be a catastrophic event on December the 21st, 2012? And what is the percentage of people on this planet who believe nothing is going to happen on December the 1st, 2012?
Well, I would have to say, if you're talking about actual numbers of people, most people on the planet have no idea about any of this. I mean, we're talking, there's millions of people, or billions of people, who are not even tuned into this conversation whatsoever. According to Greg Braden, whose work you might be familiar with, he said that to impact the field in a particular area requires the square root of 1% of the population there, and I don't have my calculator, so I don't know how many people that is.
So all we need is 1% of the world population to think positive thoughts, and we will avoid this catastrophic hypothesis that the other people, the other 99%, may actually be believing in.
I think that most people don't even know about this. I think that these conversations that we're talking about, they don't impact, perhaps millions, if not billions, of people in China, in India, in Africa, in South America.
That's a very interesting point, because if it doesn't impact them, why is it so significant with us? Why isn't it just another day with no impact at all? Maybe they're right and we're wrong.
Well, I think that most people, it's kind of like the joke, don't be concerned about what people think. Most people don't think. I think that most people are simply going along with things. And if you look at, for example, the American Revolution, it was really only a small percentage of the American colonists who participated.
But you see,
that was really a small number of people, but because they had coherence and cohesion around a particular idea, that idea took hold.
Yes, I agree.
Nobody voted on Einstein's theory, for example.
No, they had the idea, but they also took physical action. That's what caused the difference. You just didn't have a bunch of people thinking in a pub or lining up along the shores thinking these positive thoughts to defeat the British. You actually had them coming together with the idea, making the idea work, taking the idea and turning it from a thought into physical action. That's what happened.
Bingo. There you have it.
All right, so how is this going to work?
It may be that on this particular day in December in 2012, the sun rises and everybody goes, I don't see anything different. Or, the difference is going to be made by people actually taking this awareness that we're gathering. And in evolution, there are two factors in evolution. In every evolutionary phase, from single-cell organisms combining to become multi-cell organisms to multi-cell organisms combining to be complex 50 trillion cell entities like you and me, it's always involved two things: an increase in awareness and an increase in community and connection. So now we have the internet. Now we have a way for people everywhere to be connected, for an idea to be hatched here.
All right, but
and
not
to take
everything
hold there.
not everything on the internet is true. In fact, the majority of stuff on the internet is crap. I call the internet the largest septic receptacle ever created by man, because there are so many people out there who believe just because it's on the internet it's true. And
Well, of
but
course,
there's so
plenty
much
of disinformation and
plenty.
misinformation around.
Sure.
That's not the point. The point is that we have a tool for communication, and remember the old garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are we putting in? The airwaves can be jammed up with a lot of garbage, but just in judging by our little conversation, the intention here is to create more clarity.
That's right.
And so those are the forces that we have to, part of our participation.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Putting our feet on the ground.
Let me ask you this. Hold on here. Hold on here. Let me ask you this. All right. Who is going to take responsibility for December 21st, 2012? Because a lot of people are going to get hyped up. A lot of people are going to get scared. A lot of people are going to get nervous. A lot of people are going to be spending their money left, right, and center on survival stuff, survival food, generators, changing their cash into gold, buying products on the internet. If the entire event fizzes out like Y2K does, who is going to be held responsible for the losses that these people are going to be taking physically, mentally, and financially?
Well, the responsibility begins here and now with every individual who is either participating or not participating, making a choice based on their best study, intuition, and whatever. Ultimately, it's the individual's responsibility for what they glean. I think that if I wanted to really oversimplify, we have two choices in this world. We can feed the wolf of love, we can feed the wolf of fear. If what you're doing to prepare for something that may or may not happen is focused on love and expansion and connection, then whatever you do, whether or not it happens, is going to be good.
All right,
if you're going, I'm going to use this opportunity to be more sustainable, to create more community, to really ask myself, what's valuable in my life? What's truly valuable? Then no matter what happens, you're ahead of the game.
But isn't that what's
responding to a fear message?
Isn't that what religion is for? Is the 2012 movement?
Who said that spirituality is our connection with the divine? And
all right, are we saying
that
well, then is it feasible to try and, well, let's just call it as it is. Is the 2012 movement trying to create their own religion?
Well, I really can't say that there is a monolithic 2012 movement. I mean, certain people have gotten more mileage out of it, but ultimately, we're coming to the end of religion. We're coming to the end of the point where we believe that we need some kind of an intercessor to come between us and our connection with the infinite. But
that's not the belief of the majority. That's the belief of the minority.
Well, today's minorities become tomorrow's majorities. That's how things change.
It sounds to me
a number of paradigm changes. Take for example the shift from the monolithic, monotheistic religion to scientific materialism. Now scientific materialism has become a religion, and so it's time to yield to another paradigm.
So we're all going to stand around, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya.
Well, I don't know.
It sounds like
holding their own hands.
It sounds like a dumbing down of society instead of a revving up.
Well, I think there has been a stupidization program going on. There's no doubt about that. But again, just as you talked about the internet, amidst all of the garbage, and certainly, anybody with a computer can put anything up anywhere, and it really is forcing us individually and collectively to develop discernment. We've never had to do that, and that's really what's up right now. I'm involved in a transpartisan political movement in the United States to bring the left and right wing together to discover the truth together, rather than to simply believe what they've been told.
All right, so tell me, is there actually a place in politics for the New Age movement?
Is there actually what in politics?
Is there actually place in recognized politics for the New Age movement?
Well, it depends on how you define politics. If you define politics as the manipulation of one over the other, then no. But if you define politics as the relationships, or our collective relationships, then we can take some of these spiritual understandings that have been developed over the past 25, 30, or 40 years. We can take the holistic philosophy and say, well, what if we looked at the body politic like we would look at a body? And what we have right now, we have Newtonian allopathic politics, where one force is operating against another force, and the underlying causes and so on go unaddressed. But if you look at this as a holistic physician might, and begin to recognize the relationships, the deeper causes, what we call sociopathogens, then we recognize that it's very easy for people to be manipulated one side or the other, so that people don't really unite around the virtues and values that 90% of us share in common.
Are you aware, as someone who, you've got an obvious, very close interest in 2012, are you aware of any precautions that any government around the world is taking or preparing for on December the 21st, 2012?
I am not aware of anything like that. Now, of course, things come to light. I mean, back in the 70s, the CIA was doing experiments with remote viewing. There's a lot of things that we don't know that have been developed in secret. But I don't think that this, I really don't imagine that anybody in the domains of government are preparing for this like one would prepare for quote-unquote disaster. We have a perfect storm of disasters that are already developing. I'm not looking at this as on this date, boink, something is going to happen. There's some very interesting experiments done with random number generators.
All right, let's talk about the experiments with random generators on the other side of this break.
Okay.
Exonation, Stephen Bhaerman is our guest. Transform2012book.com and www.wakeuplaughing.com. My name's Rob McConnell. This is The X Zone. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
19 Sergeant Essential. 19 Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A Soul Balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Stephen Bhaerman is our guest this hour, Exo Nation. Here's a couple of websites. We've been talking about transforming through 2012. Leading perspectives on the new global paradigm. The website is www.transform2012book.com. And Steve's personal website is wakeuplaughing.com. First of all, Steve, great having you with us. I've gone to your website, both of them, checked them out. Super. And I'd also like to say that it's been great having you with us discussing 2012 in a very informative and positive manner.
Well, thanks, Rob. I've had fun myself. I wonder if I can just really say something very quickly about the random number generators. These are computers that have been operating for about, about 25 years, and they just spew out numbers in random except when they don't. And when at times when many people in the world are concentrating on one thing, notably the O.J. Simpson trial, Princess Diana's funeral, and the 9/11 Twin Towers attack, the numbers begin to develop patterns, and you can begin to see coherence in these numbers. Now, what's very interesting is that the coherence patterns began about 2 hours before the Twin Towers attack. So if you look at time, imagine that this moment in time, like this December date in 2012, imagine that you're dropping a pebble into a pond, and the ripples are going out in all directions. What we're learning about time is that it's the same thing, so that we can say that there is this moment in 2012 when this and this is going to happen. But I would suspect that if that's true, then the ripples are going out in all directions, and some of those effects are already being felt now.
So as if we're creating a force field in the time-space continuum.
That would be a way to put it, yeah.
Steve, once again, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Where can people get a copy of Transforming Through 2012?
Well, they can go to the Transforming Through 2012 website that you mentioned. They can get a copy of the ebook there. You can also go to Wake Up Laughing and get a copy, and I'm happy to sign it for people. Again, the ebook is very, very cool because you can. There's spoken word, there's videos, etc. And I think that Deborah Giusti and her team did a really phenomenal job with this project.
Steve, thanks very much for joining us. Look forward to talking to you again in the future, and as well as the Swami.
Good. Thank you. And as the Swami would say, may the force be with you.
Take care, Steve. Exo Nation,
bye.
Steve Bhaerman has been our guest this hour. Once again, 2 websites, www.wakeuplaughing.com. That's wakeuplaughing.com. And for more information on Transforming Through 2012, www.transform2012book.com. www.transform2012book.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Don't go away.